Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you go through so many changes in this time of your life, whether it be hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or waking around the middle that has come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to your regular ways of losing weight. You're cutting calories, you're cutting carbs, you're doing a bunch of cardio, yet nothing seems to be working. In fact, the scale might start actually moving in the opposite direction and you're just left feeling exhausted and feeling hopeless. But we know now that your body is inherently different than what it was prior to you going through these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life so you can live a life full of vitality, reach those health and fitness goals, finally feel back in control of your body again, and understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today is kind of like a part 2 from the last episode I did. So if you didn't listen to the how to calculate calories, do that first. And then pop into this one, which is all about meal prepping, meal planning on how to actually reach those goals. Because let's face it, I tell women every single day where their calories should be, how quickly they should increase, if their protein is good, if we need to switch out some meal timing, what their meals should look like, if they should change something. I give you everything you need, to be quite honest. But how do we ensure that you actually reach those goals that I give you? Because I'll talk to women 6 months later, a month later, they'll ask for another guide. And I'm like, hey, how did the reverse dieting go? And they're like, I tried it for like 2-3 weeks and saw no change. Or tried it for 2 to 3 weeks and I just couldn't seem to hit it. I tried, but couldn't hit my goals. So how do we make sure you do reach your goals? Because you know what you have to do, but you don't know how to do it, right? You're like, I have the information. I know what I have to do. I just can't do it. Well, it's not going to happen on accident. I'm going to tell you that much. So one of the easiest ways to stay consistent is to build some sort of framework for your daily food. This is not only going to help us stay the course, but it can also reduce what I like to call decision fatigue when it comes to tracking and measuring your food and things like that. So, there's nothing worse than coming home after a busy day, someone asks you, what's for supper? That irritates you right away. And then you're like, oh, okay, whatever. And you kind of whip something up and then you look at your MyFitnessPal or whatever app you're using. And you're like, oh my gosh, I am nowhere near where I need to be. Or, oh my gosh, I have 40 grams of protein left. How am I going to get 40 grams of protein before I go to bed? Or oh crap, I'm already over. Or, oh my gosh, I still have 800 calories to eat. Or whatever it may be. And having decision-making can be exhausting. It can be overwhelming, especially when it comes to these things. You're just like, oh crap, there's no way I can do this. Of course you're going to feel frustrated. So before we even get started, I first want to warn you that meal plans are not sustainable for the long term. And it might seem like getting a meal plan would be the easiest thing to do, right? Because it helps that decision fatigue. You don't have to make decisions. But the best thing to do is actually problem solve your way to a solution instead of just blindly paying someone to follow some plan, follow some meal plans, or something you got from the internet or from a friend or whatever you think you should be following, and then not be able to stick to it because it doesn't work. Or you get to the end of where you are, end of that meal plan, and then you go back to eating quote unquote normal, and then you gain all that weight back. So we need to make sure that the way you're eating reflects your current lifestyle. So you need to figure out how do I normally eat already? How can I make this better? What do I change? Because for someone who, I don't know, let's say you're someone who does a job where you're doing lots of labor intensive stuff, or maybe you're traveling a lot or whatever. It might not be realistic for you to have 3 big meals in a day. Will we love that? Sure. But if it doesn't work with your day, that's not going to happen. Maybe it's smaller meals more frequently through the day. It's going to depend on your lifestyle and what fits best for you, because what works best for Susie won't work great for Cindy, So It's important to make sure that it fits and reflects your lifestyle and also reflects how you want to eat as well, which is really important. So I'm not going to give you a meal plan because that's not going to teach you anything. Even in our coaching program, we will always provide like sample meal guides in order to help you like create some structure, give you some ideas, things like that. But it's usually like maybe two days worth, maybe 3. It's not something for you to blindly follow because it doesn't teach you anything. It's a good place to start so you can start tweaking things and seeing things, but that's not what we want. The only true way to be able to eat flexibly for the rest of your life, stay on track with your goals for the rest of your life, increase your nutritional literacy, you can't do that with a meal plan. It does not work. You're not learning. How do you expect to eat off a meal plan for the rest of your life? That's not realistic. You can't. The coaching that we offer and the webinars that we do for free with like clients and the podcasts that we do and things like that are meant to teach you how to fish, not doing the fishing for you. So we are teaching you the skills that you need in order to be successful. So I'm going to explain to you how to create your own plan, how to have these foundational eating habits today. I'm not going to tell you exactly what to eat because that's going to vary for everyone, because the way that you eat and the foods that you like to eat is going to vary based on personal preference, culture, socioeconomic status, where you live. Like I grew up in a small town of 1,000 people. Our grocery store was not that big and a jug of milk was very expensive. Whereas like living in like a bigger city center, you have more access to more like organic foods or more fresh foods. You have more options, things like that. Like whenever I travel the States, Whole Foods is always the first place that I go, even Target, because you guys have amazing options. Where I live in a small city, there's no Whole Foods anywhere near me. Like I'm talking hours and hours and hours and hours. Those options don't exist. So that's going to impact my food choices and how I choose to meal plan and prep and what I'm putting into my body. Okay, the cultures, any allergies you have, it's all going to be different, right? Like I can't have soy. So like for me, going to most Asian style restaurants, not an option. It's not going to be something that we have in our house, you know? I'm not going to be making stir fries with a soy sauce. Like I have to find alternatives for myself. So you can't just have a strict meal plan and follow it because there's so many things that are going to influence this, and also the foods that you like. So that matters. So before I get into the what to eat when for a meal plan stuff, the first thing that you need to do is actually grab a pen and paper or open your phone in the notes section and start answering these questions. So these are the questions that I like to ask everyone when working with clients too. These are questions that we like to ask. What foods do you currently eat? Make a list. Talk about your favorites. Put those down so we can ensure though, like you're eating those regularly in your personalized meal plan that you're creating. That we help with coaching, obviously, to guide you through that. What is your current eating schedule? So what do things look like right now? Okay, so not what they should be. What do they look like right now? Okay, does it consist of 2 to 3 meals? Maybe it's 4 meals. What does that look like? Do you have snacks? Is there pre and post workout snacks? Write down your regular meal or eating structure from Monday to Friday and do one separately for the weekend, because typically we eat a lot differently on weekends than we do during the week. So again, making down the foods that you like to eat versus the foods that you do not like to eat. There's lots of foods that I will not eat. I am a huge proponent of if it does not taste good, I don't care how healthy it is for me, I will not eat it. That's not happening. Food is meant to be enjoyed. It's not supposed to be like suffered and choked down. Don't believe in that. So not doing that here. Get rid of that. What sources of lean protein can I include in my diet or that I already do? So make a list of what are the protein options that you already currently eat, and then what else can we add? And again, this is something that like obviously in coaching, we have a nice long list of these things that we give to clients and they can pick and choose kind of what they like. And then looking at your current way of eating, what do you think you should add to make it more nutritionally valuable? So let's say your snack right now is, I don't know, let's say some cookies. What can we add to that? We're not taking things away. What can we add to that to make it more balanced, more nutritious? Okay, maybe I add in some fruit, maybe I add some veggies, if there's areas just by looking at your meal, what can I have? I talked to a woman the other day. She's like, oh, I had pizza. I probably should have had salad with it. So she knows what she can add to have with her pizza to make that a more balanced meal. So looking at how you naturally eat, what are some things that you can identify that you can start adding in that you don't hate to help make that a more nutritious meal? Okay, you don't have to overcomplicate it. If you start to overcomplicate things, you're going to get overwhelmed. We get overwhelmed when there's too many options. We get overwhelmed when there's uncertainty. We get very anxious when we're just unsure or fearful of outcomes. I'm not sure if this is going to work, right? So just start there. And this might take a few days for you to take some time to go through. You don't have to answer all those questions at once, but it's a very good place to start. What we encourage clients in our program to do. So, clients that we've had in particular, some people are pretty good at this. We don't have to do too much hands-on stuff. We've got it pretty figured out, but some people are just super overwhelmed, have no idea where to start. And this is what we do. We ask, how do you like to eat right now? That's question number one. How do you eat? How do you want to eat? Those are important questions to ask. Because if you're not eating how you like to eat and what you want to eat, you're probably not going to do it. And that's not going to work. So we're making it nice and simple. There is going to be no magic meal plan that's going to automatically give you results. Just keep your meal plans simple, especially when you're starting out. Keep them similar to what you're doing right now. We can make small adjustments over time. It doesn't have to be okay, I need to overhaul everything. I'm adding this, I'm adding that, I'm doing this, I'm taking this out, I'm adding this many more meals. No. Keep it super simple. Keep it familiar, okay? You don't want to make all these crazy, huge changes because change is a stress on your body. We need to change things slowly. Otherwise, you're not going to respond very well to that, okay? So continue to eat similarly while we're just making these small adjustments over time is going to be one of the best things that you can do for yourself. The next thing is the more that we measure, the better we can manage things, okay? The more that we have written down, the better we can actually create or easily structure some sort of meal plan to follow that's not going to be crazy different from your ways of eating. So write everything down. This is important. And writing down things can make you very aware. But if you don't write things down, if you don't collect the data and review it, you can't get anywhere with that. So for example, let's say you are trying to save, $20,000 in a year, let's say. And you are okay, I'm going to do that this year. And you just hope that it's going to happen. You just hope magically at the end of the year, you're going to have $20,000 in your bank account. But what a smart thing would be is okay, every week you're looking, let's split that up and put X amount of dollars away each week. How do I ensure that I'm doing this? You need to check and make sure you're actually doing it, right? Maybe that requires cutting out spending in some other areas so you can put that money towards that savings that you're trying to do. But if you don't actually do this and write it down and measure progress, how do you know if you're going to get 20K at the end of the year? You don't. Same with goals. You don't know if you're going to get to where you want to be or reach your nutrition goals, your calories, all that kind of stuff if you don't write it down. So tracking is very helpful. People are super overwhelmed at the beginning. Don't. Just realize it's going to take time. It's going to take practice. Just like if you were to ask me to knit right now, there's no freaking way I could do it. It's going to take me time. I'm going to have to watch some videos, make a lot of mistakes, but I'm going to have to keep practicing in order to do it, right? Same with tracking. It's the exact same thing. So I know it's not very exciting. However, less exciting is usually so much more sustainable. I talk to people sometimes and they're like, it doesn't sound that complicated. It doesn't seem like there's anything crazy fancy. I'm like, no. But the thing is, people try to do all these crazy things and fancy things and they can't stick to it. So what's the point in doing that? You need to do things slowly in a way that makes sense and is sustainable so you can actually get to your results and maintain them. Because nobody wants to just lose weight and then gain it back. We've done that before. You're frustrated. You don't want to do that anymore. So realistically, how long are you going to stick to having 10 almonds and like a handful of spinach for breakfast when you're used to actually and maybe eating and enjoying some protein pancakes and turkey sausage and some fruit? Or maybe you love having big breakfast bowls. I love that. Maybe it's overnight oats and a bunch of fruit and granola and some nuts, or a big omelet. Like, if you don't enjoy that, why are you doing that? Almonds and spinach for breakfast sounds terrible to me. It'd be far more realistic to instead stick to your omelet and then make small adjustments instead. So maybe we're adding egg whites to boost up some protein. Maybe we're adding some turkey bacon in, or maybe we're adding some chicken or ground beef right into our omelets so that we're getting more protein in. Maybe we're adding in some veggies to help keep us full longer so we're not having energy crashes in the afternoon. Like, take how you're eating and then let's just adjust it so that it's going to be more beneficial for you in the long run. Don't try and completely reinvent the wheel. So this is why writing all this stuff down is really important. Breakfast is always a great place to start. What are 3 or 4 breakfasts that you love to eat? Okay, how can we make those a little bit more nutritious, have a higher protein content, see if we can sneak in some veggies somewhere, things like that. So now I want to talk about the general rules of thumb when building a plan around your health and metabolism and menopause. So we need to prioritize health because a healthy body will lose weight, an unhealthy body will not. So we need to make sure that you are sleeping well, energy is good, digestion is good, you're not having a crazy hard time putting on muscle mass. Like, you feel good. Most people I talk to do not feel good. So here are some general rules of thumb that we encourage all women in perimenopause and menopause to follow. Okay, so you can write this down, whatever you need. Number 1 is eat within 90 minutes of waking. If we're not eating when we're waking up, then we are going to see cortisol continue to go up and up and up and up. And if you've listened to any past podcasts, we know cortisol is not what we want. It messes up blood sugars and messes up hormone balance, our liver health, our thyroid, our gut health, our liver. And we also see that our metabolism starts to slow down. So our body becomes worse at burning calories, making weight loss very challenging, plus the side effects of weight gain, exhaustion, and a whole lot more. So eating within 90 minutes of waking, very important, and no coffee on an empty stomach because that's just going to make that whole cortisol response that much worse. Number 2 is a bedtime snack, about half an hour to an hour-ish before bed. You want that to be a slow digesting carb paired with fat or protein to help you sleep. So the way that this works is typically when we're struggling to fall asleep or we're tossing and turning, that's usually due to a blood sugar drop or a cortisol spike. So how do we stop that from happening at nighttime? Having this bedtime snack. It helps stabilize your blood sugars so that you stay more consistent through the night, which is going to keep your cortisol levels lower so you can sleep, because carbohydrates lower cortisol levels. It also allows melatonin to come up. So I always give the example of like Thanksgiving, Christmas supper. You have your turkey, and everyone's like, oh, I sleep so good because of the turkey. No, you know what helps you sleep good? The potatoes, the breads, the pasta salads, the macaronis, all those things are what help you sleep better those nights. So having that before bed, half an hour to an hour, can be great. It doesn't have to be a super big meal. Some of my favorite examples are oatmeal with protein powder, yogurt with protein powder, or some granola on top. Maybe it's popcorn and a turkey pepperoni stick, meat, cheese, and crackers, toast with peanut butter on top, or toast with an egg. There are so many options that you can have, and you just got to play around and see what works best for you, because everyone's serving size will be a little bit different. Depends how close you have your last meal before bed as well, because some people go to bed like an hour after eating. So just making sure you have more carbohydrate in that meal is great. But it can make such a huge difference. Just avoid sugar, like sugary snacks before bed. So the chips, the chocolate, the candy, that kind of stuff. Or making sure that you're not having fruit, because fruit does digest quite quickly. So that can make an impact on your sleep. So making sure you're avoiding that by itself before bed also. The next rule, so that's 2 rules so far. Rule number 3, eating some protein, carbs, and fat every 4 to 5 hours. This equates to about 3 meals per day. not adding like snacks in between. Like snacks can be included, but you want to have like something with protein, carbs, and fat every 4 to 5 hours. This is going to help you with blood sugar control. This is going to help you stay full throughout the day, so you're not having energy crashes and drops. And this is where a lot of people go wrong with like, well, Steph, I do have my 3 meals a day. Your salad at lunchtime that just has chicken and lettuce and veggies has no carbs. Add some complex carbs in there. Add some potato, add some rice. Like there's so many options. Add some carb to your lunch. You should have carbs, fat, and protein every 4 to 5 hours. Eat however it fits into your schedule. That's the next rule. At the end of the day, the calorie budget stays consistent is being the most important factor. So we don't want to see one day calories be 2,200 and the next day it be 1,600 and then 2,100 and then 2,000 and then back down to 17. We want to have consistency within like 100, 150 calorie range, because having that variable calorie intake is very stressful on our body, particularly during perimenopause and menopause. Our body thrives on consistency and routine, especially since our stress response drops when estrogen goes down. We can't handle that as well. So that you may have been able to pull that before, and then you hit 45, or you had surgical menopause, or whatever time you go through this time in your life, things start to change because of this. So making sure that we are eating consistent calories day to day is very, very important. The next one is, which I always laugh because this is like a big one. People will like hop on a call with me and be like, I stopped doing this after listening to your podcast, which is amazing and it makes me so happy. No more working out fasted. Not doing it. Women are scientifically proven to burn more calories and have less stress when they work out in a fed state. Not to mention, during perimenopause and menopause, when estrogen goes down, we have a harder time accessing energy stores. So if you are working out in a fed state, you can actually get more out of your workout, which means you're going to see more benefit from those workouts. You have a greater potential to be able to put on muscle mass, which we know during perimenopause and menopause, when estrogen goes down, we have a harder time building and maintaining muscle mass. So we want to really maximize what we can and avoid muscle loss at all costs. So working out in a fed state will help with that significantly. Now let's talk about your meal structure. In our main meals, we always want to have what we call a balanced plate. So if you are tracking calories, yes, you'll have a little bit more leeway because you have like different goals that you'll be reaching for. But if you want to have and you'll have a little bit more freedom too, because you have other goals, and as long as you're hitting that and we're not having inconsistent caloric energy throughout the day, you can kind of split that up however you like, right? But if you're not tracking calories, you should have some more structure to your meals. And even if you are, some structure is good. And a balanced plate, when we are looking at breakfast, we want to have half your plate be carbohydrates, half your plate be protein. If you can sneak in some veggies in there, awesome. I don't worry about fat because it's very easy to get in there from protein choices or dressings on salads or dairy, things like that. So at breakfast, half carb, half protein. That's what we want to aim for. So for myself, I love overnight oats with some fruit. Love that. I have my skyr yogurt in there. I have high protein milk in there. I have my oats in there for carbs. I have my protein powder in there as well. I have my fruit in there. So I have a good balance of carbs and protein in there. You can do that with let's say breakfast bowl. So for breakfast, for example, I love doing a breakfast bowl with either tater tots, or I'll do rice, or I'll do like roasted potatoes of some sort. Then I'll have egg in there for protein. And typically I'll add in some like ground beef, or I'll add in some chicken, like whatever I have left over from before. And then my eggs will typically be scrambled in there. And then I also toss in veggies. Veggies at breakfast are just a bonus. So in there I'll have typically some greens, or that's like a spring mix or some spinach. Toss in some onions, pepper, tomato, whatever veggies I kind of have prepped from whatever we were doing before. And then I love Dijon mustard, so I like to put Dijon mustard on it. Sometimes I'll add cheese if I'm in a reverse diet or need more calories in my day. Have a little bit of protein and fat in there as well. Or sometimes I have some sort of gravy from like something we cooked before, like a creamy Dijon gravy, or I'll do like a gravy from like whatever pork chops we had or something like that. But you want to have, again, half protein, half carb. If you can get 30 grams of protein at breakfast, you are well on your way to hit your goals for the day. Lunch and dinner, or what I say is lunch and supper, because I'm Canadian, is that you will have half of your plate be veggies and fruit. Okay, you can have a combo there. Then about a third-ish of your plate or a quarter of your plate is going to be protein. And protein you want to be typically about the width of your hand. So how thick your hand is and the size of the palm of your hand. So that's about the size of protein that you want. And then the remaining amount on your plate should be a starchy carb of some sort. So this is your rice, bread, pasta, potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa, beans, anything like that. Okay. And that's what a balanced plate looks like. So you can use that everywhere you go. When you're going to eat out, when you're going to a barbecue, it's very easy. So like, let's say you have, not the best example, a hot dog isn't lean protein, but there's some protein in there. So you got your protein and your carb. Now you just need to add some veggies. If you can get some extra protein in there somewhere, amazing. But boom, fairly balanced meal. Not the most healthiest meal by any means, but it's more balanced. It's gonna be good for your blood sugars. Get those veggies in and you're fine. Maybe it's a burger. So burger and bun, perfect. Okay. See if you can get some extra protein in there and then have some veggies. If you're going out for supper, maybe it's chicken and potatoes and some veg. Maybe it's steak, potatoes, and veg. That's like my favorite. Or a prime rib, even better. Big meat eater. I'm a big beef fan. Growing up in a small town, like the meat, potatoes, veggie is like a very classic meal structure. Tacos can be a great example. You got some veggies in there. You got your protein. You got your tortilla for the carb. So it's just making sure you're getting enough protein, getting enough veggies most of the time because carbs are really easy to come by. So it's just learning what to add to make it a little bit more balanced. So it's always just like referring to your plate. How can I make this a little bit more nutritious? Not, I can't have this, I can't have that. What can I add? Very easy way to go about it. If you follow those guidelines that I just went through, you'll pretty much have a meal plan created for yourself already based on workout days, non-workout days, for your pre and post-workout snack, how you typically like to eat based on what you wrote, and then referring to the balanced plate, and then making sure your meal timing is good. That's it. It's super simple. We tend to super overcomplicate things, and it doesn't have to be that way because we overcomplicate it in our heads of like, oh, tracking has to be this. Oh, meal planning has to be this. Oh, prepping has to be this. And you already overwhelm yourself before you even start. So just start by how do I normally eat? And then what can I add to help achieve these goals in between the rules that we have? So there are some things to consider with any plan that you're going to create for yourself. So first and foremost, your meal plan has to work for you and your life. The best meal plan is the one that you're actually going to stick to, one that helps you stay consistent so we're not yo-yoing up and down, not one that's your friend from Zumba gave you, right? It's what works for you. We help women make their meal plans all the time in our coaching program. Nobody's looks the same. Meal structure, yes. Plate structure, yes. But what those look like is vastly different based on preferences and what you enjoy so that you can eat with your family, because that's huge. You shouldn't be making different meals in your family all the time. No, you can eat what your family eats. Just what can I add to make it more nutritious? The next one is don't restrict food groups, aka carbs. We're not doing that anymore. It's not going to help you with like energy and staying full and being realistic. Carbohydrates are necessary to help with your blood sugar control and your insulin resistance and your thyroid function. Carbs are needed for proper thyroid function. I have seen women time and time again end up with hypothyroidism and low thyroid function from eating low carb for a long time. I don't want that to be you, because when thyroid function is low, your metabolism slows down. Your body becomes worse at burning calories, and nobody wants that because you can imagine if your body sucks at burning calories, it's pretty hard to lose weight. Okay. People are like, oh, but or carbohydrates raise my blood sugars. All food does. And in the absence of carbohydrates, you know what your liver does? It converts amino acids, aka protein, into sugar and pumps it into your bloodstream. So you're still going to get a rise in blood sugar. If you're fasting, same thing happens. Your body breaks down muscle, converts it into sugar, puts it in your bloodstream for energy. This happens when you're in a stress state. So stop cutting out carbs, okay? We're not doing this anymore. Do aim for whole foods at least 80% of the time, and this can definitely be something that we see often. There is nothing wrong with what we would call highly processed foods, okay? There is no good or bad foods. That's not a thing. There's more nutritious, less nutritious, more nutrient dense, less nutrient dense. They can all play an important part in our diets. You should have them in there. However, highly processed foods tend to be more calorie dense and more hyperpalatable, which means that it is easier to keep eating them, and they're also less satisfying, but it's easier to overeat them. But they don't provide you with the same micronutrients and vitamins like whole foods would in order for our body to really function optimally. So for example, plain non-fat Greek yogurt is a wonderful source of not only protein, but B vitamins. And B vitamins are necessary for several hormonal processes in the body. And the majority of women are clinically proven to be deficient in B vitamins. You're not going to get that from like a donut, you know? But like yogurt's still a processed food, right? So there's no good or bad. It's just really understanding how these foods can fit into our diet best based on your needs and your goals and what your body is going to respond best to, okay? So with that, people tend to think they eat a very whole food diet, but then they look back and it's not, right? So what I like to recommend is like at your meals, and can be like just like a little test for yourself to see where you're at. Write down your foods as you like normally would. And then at your meals, like write down or like just green check for everything that's like a whole food. Okay, so salad, whole food, good. Cheese, processed, fine, whatever. Chips, processed. So make different colors so you can actually see where you are on that continuum. Because I think a lot of the time we think we're not having a lot of processed foods, and we are. And this includes things like our protein bars, our protein powders. Typically, we'd like to see women not start utilizing those until they hit the 100 grams of protein mark. Because if you're starting to rely on protein Pop-Tarts and protein bars and protein chips and all these things as your main source of protein, that's really processed. A lot of people will actually end up having a hard time digesting that, which can lead to bloating and things like that, which is not a great feeling. But if you're already relying on that and you're only getting, let's say, 70 grams of protein, what the heck are you going to add, right? So try and get your protein from mostly whole food sources until 100 grams if you can, before utilizing those other options. And remember, the most successful people are not the people who have the strongest willpower. They have set themselves up for success easily by having a good structure, by having good habits. It's not that you have more willpower, it's that you make it easier to make the choices that you want to make and you plan for it. So people who do really well in investing and their finances, they spend a lot of time doing that and they have a plan and a process, right? Whereas like same with people who are healthier and reaching their health and fitness goals, they have a plan, they follow a plan, they have their processes. They're ensuring they're reaching those goals through habits and things like that. It's not just going to happen on accident. So if you're struggling with consistency, controlled meals, have the same thing daily or evolve through 2 or 3 different ones. So consistency is a big one because people are like, oh man, like my lunch was so much different than usual. And then I didn't have enough calories at the end of the day. Or, oh, my lunch was less than I thought it would be. And then I have too many calories left at the end of the day and it was too hard to get them all in. So one way that's easy is to just start with consistency in your meals itself. So this is where writing out like your 2 to 3 breakfasts to rotate through. Awesome. You're getting 30 grams of protein right off the bat. That's going to make it so much easier to hit your goals by the end of the day. If you are someone who struggles with time during the week, meal prep or do some sort of cooking in advance. So when I say meal prep, people panic. They're like, Steph, I do not have time. I want to enjoy my Sunday. I don't want to spend 6 hours cooking. Me either. And I don't, to be completely honest. So here's the way our prepping works is we make our plan for the week. Taylor and I, we do that every Sunday. We make our grocery list based on the meals that we decided that we're going to cook from what our schedules look like. We come home and typically we might like clean up some stuff. We'll clean out our fridge so it's a lot easier to see everything. He might prep up some of the veggies because I don't like doing that. But he does it a lot. So he'll cut up peppers or things like that so that we have them easy to snack on. Because if I'm looking at a carrot and I'm like, I'm not going to cut that up to eat it. But if it was already cut up, I'm going to eat it. So it's little things like that that can make a big difference. So he helps a lot. Quite honestly, right now he's doing most of the cooking because my schedule right now with travel and things has been absolutely insane. I just feel like I'm not as far ahead as I'd like to be. So I'm not behind, but like, I just feel like I'm not as organized as I want to be right now. So he's doing a ton of the cooking right now, which is phenomenal. But he's also great for, okay, let's say we make taco salads one night. He cuts up extra tomatoes. He cuts up extra peppers. He cuts up extra onions. And then they're in a container in the fridge. So then if, let's say, we wanted to make a scramble the next morning, I'm not wasting time cutting stuff up. It's already cut up. I can toss it in there. Boom, it's done. If I'm going to make a salad at lunchtime, okay, awesome. Ingredients are already prepped. Great. I just got to clean up some lettuce and I'm good to go. Things like that. When we're cooking taco meat, we cook extra so we can have it. Maybe we make nachos one night. Maybe we are putting that in tacos or a wrap or taco salad, or maybe we're tossing that in something else that we're making, right? Like there's so many options. So when you cook your first meal or two, because we're not going to slave away in the kitchen on a Sunday. Like we don't like to do that. Our Sundays are our chill days. Predominantly it's a lot of like running around, but we do church, we do our marriage journal, we do our meal planning, we go grocery shopping. That's our little routine and we love it. So what happens is those first couple of days is we'll make extra based on our plan for the week. So let's say we have, I don't know, we have chicken fajitas planned for Monday. Wednesday, we're going to make white chicken chili. So when we're cooking the chicken for the fajitas, we'll toss in a few extra breasts. So the breasts are already cooked for that white chicken chili, which takes off 20 minutes of our prep time for that meal on Wednesday. Same with having enough carbs cooked up. So cook up some extra potatoes, cook up some extra roasted veggies, cook up some extra rice. It's not that challenging. It's just if you make a plan and you can see what you need and then you start cooking those things when you are cooking the other stuff, just making extra of it so you can utilize it in the recipes later, makes a huge difference. Or double the batch and freeze half of it. Amazing. The amount of times that having already cooked frozen ground beef in the freezer has helped us, amazing. Toss it into soups, add some seasoning for chilies, add it for tacos, like it's easier that way. But we all panic when we think of prep because we think we have to have all these containers portioned out and you have to spend the whole day cooking and all your meals are done for the day. No, that's not realistic for us. I would never do that. I would never expect you to. I have a few clients who do it and they crush it and it's awesome. That's just not something that's going to work for me. And quite frankly, it's not something I want to do, and that's okay. So that's if you struggle with time. If you struggle with planning, how to kind of go about this is sit down one time. It'll make decisions so much easier for you in the future, but have your go-to list for foods and snacks and places to eat out. So have your list. If you are a hockey mom and you're always taking your kids out and they're always wanting to go to Wendy's, let's say, take time one time to research like the 3 or 4 restaurants you typically go to with your family. Figure out which things are a little bit more macro-friendly, are a little bit more nutrient dense, maybe a little less calories, so it can fit into your plan. So it's easy. You're not like feeling poorly or getting there and being like, oh, now I'm over. Like you can plan for those things. Having your list of snacks, amazing. High protein snacks or your go-to snacks so you're less likely to swing through a drive-through or pick up some ice cream or things like that. Having those in your car, protein bars, trail mix, things like that make a difference. I have a list of 20-minute meals that I have my list of proteins, my carbs, and my veg, and I can make a ton of different combos. And then I have some sample recipes underneath. So I have, of course, like pre-cooked and cut chicken that's frozen in the freezer. We have frozen fish in the freezer. We have chicken wings that we can just toss in the air fryer. Like there's so many different things that we have protein wise. Same with veggies. You can have frozen veggies, canned veggies, super easy to pop in the microwave and steam, right? For carbs, microwave rice. Used to love that stuff and live off of it because it was very easy for me with my busy lifestyle that I used to have pre-Taylor. Maybe, you know, like it's just pasta's a good one too. There's lots of things that you can have that are quick and easy to grab to, right? Even bread, you know, like that's a carb that you can take and add to your meal very easily. And then I have what my meals would be with that. So my quick meals are, okay, I toss the frozen fish fillet in the oven. It takes 20, 25 minutes. I then maybe steam some frozen green beans or something I have and toss microwave rice in the microwave. Boom, done, super easy. Maybe it's having that frozen pre-cut chicken in the freezer. Awesome. I can take that out, thaw it, make a chicken quesadilla in like 10 minutes. I can toss it in a wrap. Like, you know, there's so many things. So I have a list of all of these things that make it a lot easier that when I'm in a panic or a pinch or something changes, I have that. So it's a lot easier to set myself up for success when I know that I'm having a rough week or something like that. If you're someone who struggles with budget, find sale items at the grocery store and make meal plans around those foods. And if you have your calories, figure out how you're naturally eating first, add those meals in, and then figure out what you need to add or adjust or sub out to help you reach those goals. Okay, so we tend to, again, really overcomplicate things, and it doesn't have to. I also want to touch very briefly on the reverse diet here because most of us need one. And I do have a live training on this and a podcast from way back when. I will do another one soon too. But a lot of you come to me as under eaters or you're not eating consistently, and the idea of eating more on a weekly basis sounds super terrifying, very daunting, and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to add 100 calories each week until I get to X amount of calories? So first, having proper meal structure is going to make it feel far less intimidating to eat more when you already have a set routine of eating, okay? Secondly, we typically tell you to increase by like 50 to 100 calories a week. That's a very, very easy thing to do. So you don't have to add a bunch more food. That can be as simple as 1 tablespoon of honey or maple syrup, putting that in your tea or yogurt. Maybe that's 1 extra ounce of chicken breast to your salad. That's a half a tablespoon of peanut butter. That's a slice of cheese or 2. Like it's not, you don't have to add crazy amounts of food. Just add a teeny bit bigger serving of what you're having. Okay, maybe you're just adding like a little bit more rice on your plate. It doesn't have to be super complicated. You don't have to start adding crazy amounts of different things to your diet. Other things to note in general about changing your eating or tracking your food that can be helpful for your nutritional consistency and your plan is just like treat your goals like a financial budget. You know, like if you have a calorie goal and, you know, we have to adjust things. Okay, maybe I want to splurge and get my hair done. Okay, so I know I'll probably like just decrease the amount of times I go out for coffee that month or something, right? Like you make adjustments, or maybe I'm just not going to go out for supper once or twice this month, something like that, just to keep it balanced, right? Same with nutrition. I want to have that donut. Okay, so I'll just like reduce a couple things somewhere else, add some more low calorie, high volume foods. So I might utilize veggies a lot more that day to make sure I still feel full. It doesn't have to be crazy complicated, but we panic with the idea of meal prep and meal planning because of what we think it's going to be like versus what it's actually like. If you have a goal that involves changing what you're doing now or how your body is working right now, then I need to make this very clear. The more that we measure, the more that we can manage. Tracking your calorie intake and protein intake and being consistent with that daily will be the easiest, most flexible thing to do, the most educational, the most efficient way to see change because you can eat what you want or slightly eat different if you are paying attention to the tracking, because then you can see how can I swap things out? What can I add? How can I make this more nutritious? And you don't necessarily need to have a meal plan to do that, but it can help a lot. Having an outline for eating will help you stay on track. And that's beneficial all the way around. If we are not measuring and managing what we measure, then we just make a lot of extreme changes and guesses as to what might actually help. And it's similar to throwing a dart in the dark with yourself blindfold in a dark room and having no idea what you're aiming for versus measuring. It's just like turning on the light, you're taking the blindfold off. Now you have something to aim for. So when it comes to long-term change, the change and the goal should be nutritional literacy, learning to be more informed about your food, how it affects your body. We want to teach you how to fish, not fish for you, because this needs to be a sustainable tool that way you can carry that with you for the rest of your life. So you're not in this situation again. Menopause isn't going to all of a sudden get easier. I know lots of people are like, oh, you just got to survive it and it'll get better. You just need to survive it and it'll get better. No, menopause is something that you're going to deal with for the rest of your life now. So like postmenopausal, like if you don't change things and learn how to manage it, it's not going to all of a sudden get better. Does that mean that you have to track calories until you're 85, 90 years old? Of course not. But tracking allows for literacy to increase, which creates confidence in what tools will help your body and at what time. So you can pull those out whenever you need it. And if you're overwhelmed with it right now, just remember that it's going to take time. It's learning a new skill, learning a new job position. We can't expect to be perfect. And the more pressure we put on ourselves to be perfect, the more likely you are to quit. So keep that going. And remember that failure and setbacks are great learning opportunities as long as you can get back on and you learn from them. That's what we typically want to see with our clients is like, someone will message us all panicked. Oh, I did this. Oh, I did that. And sometimes I purposely don't answer right away. I'll wait a couple hours and be like, hey, what did you decide to do? And then we talk through it, because if they're always looking for me for answers, they're never going to be able to do this on their own. So it's more like, okay, so here's what happened. Tell me what choices you thought you had, why you made the choice that you did. Are you happy with that choice? Okay, let's go over what could have happened if we did some different things. How can we avoid this situation from coming up again? If it does come up, how can we combat it better? Because things are going to come back up. Like life is never a cakewalk. I think we've all figured that out. So we want to encourage you to make mistakes, troubleshoot on your own, and then we help you get through the rest. So I hope that was helpful. I really, really encourage you to go back to the beginning and listen to some of the meal planning stuff. I'll just go over some of those questions here quickly for you again so that you have them handy. So the questions to ask yourself are, what foods do I currently eat? What is my current schedule like? What foods do I like to eat and not like to eat? What sources of protein do I already eat and that I could add? What are some carb sources that I like and that I could add into my diet? And looking at the way I eat, what can I add to make it more nutritious? And then the rules that we want to follow are eating within 90 minutes of waking, have that bedtime snack, eat something with carb, fat, and protein every 4 to 5 hours, eat however it fits your schedule, do not work out fasted, follow the balanced plate method, and you're going to be fine. Those are a great place to start. It doesn't have to be super crazy. If you are someone who is eating very little right now, though, and we need to add calories slowly, I do highly recommend tracking calories and protein intake in particular, at least until you get up to a higher calorie intake. Because what happens is if you're eating like 1,000, 1,200 calories, and we know we got to get you up to 2,000, and you're eating very little right now, just adding in a breakfast, that could be anywhere from like 200, 300, 400 calories more in a day. And then because your metabolism is slow, you're more likely to see weight gain because you're doing such a big jump. So if you are eating low calorie and needing to slowly increase those calories, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you are tracking, increasing by 50 to 100 calories a week. And then slowly adding in these rules we talked about. Because if you're not having breakfast and you're not having a bedtime snack and you add both of those in right away, that's easily an extra 5 500, 600 calories right there, which will result in weight gain. So the key is to do this slowly. If you are reversing, I always recommend tracking to start so that you don't panic, right? Because we want to make sure we're doing this slowly. I hope that was helpful. I hope that made things easier when it comes to thinking about meal planning and prepping. Do those questions. It's a lot easier when you already have the bones of something. Then you just start adding in little things. But you're not changing your diet 100%. We're not doing a full 180 of the way you eat. So if you need help with this, we do have a meal prep guide that goes over some of these things and the questions and stuff like that. If you want that, just email email me, Stephanie@vitality.oet.com. It's in the show notes there for you. If you want us to calculate your calories for you, just book a consultation call. If you're interested in coaching, head to the application call. We are always, always, always happy to help. We just want to help you understand your body and get you back to where you need to be. I hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.